Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, Earthlings, wherever you are. Hope you're not freezing cold or boiling hot, depending on where you are on this lovely planet Earth that we live on. It's still quite cold here, isn't it?
Is it me or is that picture a bit blurred?
It's hard to tell because my vision's quite blurred a lot of the time.
A bit that.
Is it because you've got a bright light behind you, maybe?
Yeah, there you go. That's better.
Or is it just your angelic aura?
That's my halo.
Firstly, I have noticed a little bit of sugary substance in the comments in the last few videos. I do apologise if anybody's had a little bit of abuse in the comments from people who crop up. I try and keep on top of it. I don't like to delete or block people because everyone's entitled to their free speech, but I have noticed there have been some sort of pretty provocative new people I've never seen before who've come along and said stuff. Maybe they're just not with the vibe with us lot at the moment, but if I do see anything that's really, really abusive, then I do delete and block, but I haven't deleted or blocked anybody in months. It is still very cold here. Well, it's not that cold by other people's standards, is it? But it's just we're not designed for it here, just off the coast of Africa, most of the year.
We just feel the cold because we moved here to be hot and sunny and warm, and so we get the chill when it's...
It's more heating the inside of the houses down here, isn't it? Because they don't have cavities. And
yeah, well, this is a very old house as well, you see. It's built before cavity wall insulation and damp proofing and that sort of thing. They're just stone walls, solid stone walls.
Yeah, so it's a bit like living in castles, all the houses here in Spain. So it's hard to heat, and then I find if I can't get warm, I can't get on with any jobs. I just want to stop moving.
Yeah, you just got to wrap up and...
anyway.
Do star jumps, do a Trevor.
I'm not doing star jumps.
Go for a 20-mile run.
No. So, anyway, the last video on Prince Andrew's photograph, the alleged photograph, whether it's real or not, I've read all the comments, brilliant comments, loads of brilliant observations, and I've made notes. So, I've got Graham here, and then we can work our way through. So, I'll start with the top one. Whose camera was it? It must have been Virginia's camera. It must have been, because she says she took it to get the film developed.
Right. Okay. So assuming it was 2001 and it was Virginia's camera, I mean, you're a young girl. What sort of camera would you have in 2001? And my guess would be a compact, something like a 110. Okay, but you get a cassette, you open the back, put the cassette in, close it, and just go. Take the pictures. You can turn the flash on or off, depending if you're shooting in the dark. And as a lot, you can Google it. You can Google 110 compact camera of the era. They're small, they're compact. Some of them have got a handle that opens up, but they fold up and they go straight into your handbag. Don't take up any space. That to me is a sort of camera that a girl of that age, or a woman, even in her 20s, would have in her handbag. That's my guess. And the flash would be off to one side. It wouldn't be in the centre or above as a more professional cameras. You look at the Daily Mail and the paparazzis, the flashes are on top, dead in line with the lens, okay? So you don't get off-side flashes and big shadows across noses and things.
So would that be a reel of film? Or a...
Yeah, it was like a flat thing with a reel at each end, and the new film was in one side, and every time you took the picture and wound it on, it went on to the other side, and when it was finished, you popped the back, took it out, and took it to the chemist, and they did the rest.
So there'd be negatives with
There will be negatives, there will be. And they'll also, a lot of them you showed it the other day, like a one photo with all the images on, because you didn't have negatives, so you got small versions of the entire roll.
I think you used to get that, the little summary of all the little thumbnails, and you get the negatives.
Yeah. Well,
back at that time, 2000,
at
2001.
That time, I had a Canon single lens reflex, which was a T70, I believe. 35mm Canon camera, The upper one from that was the EOS 35mm, because that's what Denny was shooting. He was more professional. And when we were flying, he'd be taking pictures, but every time he ran out of film, I had to orbit while he changed the film. So the Canon digital SLRs came out around about that time, 2000, but they were very, very expensive. No one could afford them. So I didn't get a digital camera. I was still shooting 35mm. I didn't get a digital camera until I was on Far Bend. My mother bought me one for a birthday.
A little tiny one.
50 quid Kodak, and it was brilliant. I've never looked back. I've loved them ever since, and I've got digital EOS SLR now. Just a cheap one, not nothing.
A lot of you have said, what's the relevance of the photograph in the first place, whether it's real or fake? I think that the point they're making with the relevance of the photograph, because just having his picture taken with Virginia doesn't prove what happened after the photograph was taken or what had happened before the photograph was taken. All it proves is he met her at least once in that one photograph.
Yeah.
I think that's the point they're making. So they're trying to take away his deniability. You know, I never met her, I don't know who she is. But even if, let's say it's a real photograph, how are we to know whether he just popped in to see Galen, she happened to be there, this young girl said, oh well, Prince Andrew, would you
Have
mind...
a picture taken with you?
Exactly.
Yeah, sure. There you go.
Click. Totally forgot about it.
Got to go, my Rolls Royce is waiting.
So it doesn't really prove anything anyway. Just sort of bring that up because a lot of people have said that. How is that picture?
Well, I've got another point. How old was she when she was supposed to be in Maxwell's flat in London?
I'm not sure. 17, I think.
But that's not an offence. Even if he did have sex with her, that's not an offence in England, is it? So
they say it's an offence under New York law or something, but I've seen other people...
Surely the offence has got to be committed in New York for that to take effect.
I think she alleges. But I've seen other people say that that's not the legal... that's not illegal in New York. The date, the guy at the Daily Mail shows the back of the photograph, and the date, somebody said that's in English format because it's got the day of the month and the year, whereas Americans have the month, the day of the month, and then the year.
Yeah.
But the format is actually 13 capital MAR 01. So anyone in America, would that be right? I know you do normally put the month first, then the day of the week, and then the year. But because the month is depicted in letters, would that be normal? 13 MAR 01 for 13th March 01. That's a question.
So basically, if you're an American and you've got any old photographs, could you just turn them over and have a look, just see what? Because
that's quite an interesting thing.
Because I had a pen friend from Los Angeles, and she said, "Wow, it's really weird the way you guys put the date first, like 28th of March, for example, and the year. We always put March 28th." And I thought, not that it makes any difference, but it's just a little subtle difference, isn't it?
But if they put that the other way around, it would look a bit weird. It would be MAR 1301.
But you'd know what the 13 and the 01 stood for, wouldn't you?
I don't know. Rhea Snakespeare raised the very famous case of the Cottingley Fairies. Now, I can't remember which year exactly it was, but I think it was...
It was around the turn of the century.
1910, 1911, something like that. The two sisters said they'd taken photographs of fairies at the bottom of the garden. Although later on one of the sisters said they were fake, it was a long-going story. It's very well documented.
They only had a Brownie box camera, didn't they?
But it just goes to show how unsophisticated their equipment was.
Yeah.
Fooled a lot of people for a long time, and an awful lot of
I've seen the photographs, they were very convincing.
A lot of people have said that from the 70s they worked with in a photographic development, and it's very easy to fake photos. And one person said that her husband had died and they had a family picture taken, and her family faked it so he could be in the picture, which was really lovely.
Well, I used to do stuff in the darkroom, you know, black and white photography, and on the enlarger, the photographic paper, you can double expose the photographic paper to more than one image, and you'll get two images on the same photograph, and that's easily done with someone who's dead. A picture of someone who's dead,
yeah,
you could easily put them in the picture.
That's quite nice, actually.
Or have
that's
massive
quite nice.
eyes in the windscreen of a car. That's what I did.
Okay.
Taken from behind. But I used to play around with images and effects in the darkroom.
Someone commented that I should shut the hell up because he's guilty as sin because the Daily Mail said so. And I read that one out to Graham, and Graham said straight away, well, let's get rid of the police, let's get rid of the courts, let's get rid of it all. We'll just have the Daily Mail. Isn't that great news, guys?
Think of the money we'll save.
Absolutely. Taxpayers, we don't need the justice system anymore. We've got the Daily Mail.
There you go.
This is what I mean by sugary comments, guys. Sugary comments. I mean, full of utter stupidity.
It could have been
frankly.
someone was being sarcastic. Though.
No, it wasn't.
Tend to think
I don't
it
think
was a
so.
sarcastic comment.
I don't think so, because I've had a few of them. Why is there only one photo of Andrew, Virginia, and Glenn? Now, question Graham. You work on the Dolphin Safari boat.
Yeah.
Sometimes the passengers say, can you use my phone and take a group photo of me as a family?
Yeah.
What do you do?
I always take about 3. You get everyone in the group. You all ready? Yeah, bang, 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 bang. Take about 3 or 4. Because one of them is bound to be the best, isn't it, out of the 4?
Me too.
And it gives them a choice.
Me too.
Because they might have had their eyes shut or been like that.
I do exactly the same thing in case I've messed it up or got it wrong. And I asked Faith, who also works at the Dolphin Safari, she said the same thing. She said I take about 3, then they can pick the best. And I asked Benji, and after a lot of sarcastic, stupid answers, he said the same. He said, yes, I take 3 or 4, sometimes 5. And they'll be, you know, in different poses. But I guess if it's a fake photograph, that would be tricky, wouldn't it, to get 2 or 3. Now, if I saw 2 or 3 of Andrew leaning back, them laughing, doing... I'd be probably utterly convinced.
You saw the negatives and they were consistent with...
Don't think I'd even have to see the negatives. If I saw 3 pictures like that'd do it for me. So why is there only one? This is Prince Andrew, Duke of York, son of the Queen of England at the time. Just one? Are you crazy?
Well, if you had your picture, if I was Prince Andrew, right, and you said, oh, can I have a picture taken with you? And I went like that. Would you want just one picture?
Yeah.
Or would you want them to take a few?
Or was it the last photograph on the film?
I don't know.
And a few of you had asked that. Why was there only the one picture? One person actually said, brilliant point, I hadn't thought of this. Where the guy at the Mail on Sunday took a photograph of the back of the photo, could have been any photo. Now, that would imply that Michael Thomas was lying, but... yes, I see your point. That could have been the back of any photograph. Done the Dolphin Safari. Now,
unless you videoed it being turned over. Because a lot of the digital cameras today, they've got video cameras built in, haven't they?
Well,
you just switch them to video, mine has.
By the time he went to her place in Australia to take a picture of the picture, it was 10 years later, it was 2011, and yes, he could have done that. You had an SLR with the video.
I've got one.
So he could have done.
It does it, yeah.
One of my questions was, why did it take 10 years for Virginia to produce the photo? But I've looked up this morning, and apparently, and I'm not that invested in the Jeffrey Epstein story. Jeffrey Epstein had been arrested in 2011, so I suppose to give Virginia her dues, she may have been screaming from the rooftops for 10 years for someone to pay attention, and they wouldn't until Jeffrey Epstein was arrested. So I kind of answered my own question this morning. I was told by another bit of a sugary doodah to find a better cause to argue with. No. And I answered that in capital letters. No. Firstly, this is a situation close to my heart. People who've been accused of something and then they're not allowed to scrutinise it. Number one, because, as I've said before, I was on the receiving end of a witch hunt. Number two, the Yankee Wally case. She was charged, convicted and tried and never given an explanation. I know other people who've been accused of things and it hits my red rod. When I see that someone is accused, people throw out evidence and then they won't let you look at it, they won't let you examine it, and to me, my alarm bells are going off left, right and centre. And number two, whoever that person was, don't tell anybody on the internet or in real life what they can and cannot be interested in and invest their time in. Get bent. And then another one said, Andrew's obviously guilty because of association.
Huh.
So again, be done with the police, be done with the courts. We don't need any of that nonsense anymore. Smoke without fire.
I saw you with that person. You're obviously guilty.
I saw her with a black cat, therefore she must be a witch and must be burned. Again, get bent.
What does get bent mean?
It's my polite way of saying F off.
Oh.
Dates of infamy. Now, this was a really interesting comment by somebody who said they're not invested in the Andrew story. They have been a victim of abuse, and that date, you know, sticks in their mind. And I think that's a really important and interesting point. And yes, perhaps that is the case with Virginia. Personally, I doubt it. But I've been thinking about dates of infamy in my life and how much I remember now, because obviously at the time it's quite fresh. The 24th of January 2002. I was pretty sure it was the 24th of January. It was definitely January, and I think it was the 24th that I was arrested in Spain.
What day was it?
And I was arrested by the Daily Mail. They were there, all these big tough
They
guys.
bought it and paid for it.
Yeah. My arresting officer, Steve Skerritt, was actually on holiday, because by the time my Spanish lawyer phoned up Sussex Police and said, so my client, Fiona, is in custody in Spain on the request of Steve Skerritt. Sussex Police went, do what now? He's on holiday. And my lawyer actually heard them put the hand over the phone and say, where did Steve Skerritt say he was going on holiday? And they said, Costa del Sol. And they were like, oh my God. Daily Mail paid for the hire car. It was all a ton of big brave men from the Daily Mail.
Flights.
Paid for the
hotel
flight.
room. Meals.
That's why I was released from prison about 20 days later. So
Skerritt actually told you that, didn't he? After that interview you did with him.
So that was a date of infamy, which stuck in my craw for quite a few years to come. But I can't remember if it actually was the 24th of January. I'll have to look on my own wiki page, but I think it was. Another date, 19th of January, 2013, when our entire family was nearly killed thanks to the negligence of a certain person who I shall not name. That date I can remember. The date my dad died, do you know, it was May, but I can't remember. And I certainly can't remember the day of the week. Date your dad died.
24th of February.
Day of the week?
Can't remember the day. That was 95.
Specifics you can remember?
Oh, it might have been 96.
Yeah, your dad died at 96. Do you see what I mean?
Going back 20 odd years, you know.
But,
You're asking me what day was it 20 odd years ago?
I remember
Could find out for sure.
I do remember the date that someone held a shotgun to my head, because it happened on the night of a Halloween party.
What day was it?
Well, I think it was the 31st of October, but you know Halloween parties...
Friday.
If it didn't fall on a Friday, it could have been a different date. But I mean, that's the sort of thing you'd think you'd remember, someone holding a shotgun to your head. It was 1987, and it was around about the 31st of October. But again, so no, I'm not buying it that things stick in their mind. And she doesn't look traumatised in the photograph. She doesn't look like half-beaten, like you see on one of these crime shows. So no, I'm not buying that one. I'll come back to that one because I think that's really important. Someone asked, can you do a deep dive into photography and how you can fake photographs?
Of course, yeah.
I'm going to put a link in the description to Graham's channel, so you can follow that. He's going to be doing a big deep dive into cameras, how to fake things.
I knew a guy who had a scalpel, and he used to cut people out of a photograph and put them in another photograph and then re-photograph the photograph. And they were really good. Some of them you could tell, but others you think, wow, that guy really was there. Look at that. And I played around with that idea, and I did some really good ones.
How has
photographs.
How has she lost the original? Apparently she's lost the original, and I'm going to come back to that one. Don't let me forget. That one's important because someone left a really important comment. But just get to the others.
I'm going to make more tea.
You're going to make another cup of tea?
Yeah.
Oh, lovely. Some people raised the subject that they think it's genuine because Andrew settled out of court. Well, that's all very private information, and I don't know that for a fact. And I said to these commenters, I don't know that for a fact. I don't know it was 12 million. I don't know if it was 1p. I don't know if he gave anything. And I don't believe any of us do. I think there's sealed court documents. So Again, people are jumping to conclusions and assumptions just on newspaper reports. That's a far cry from facts. Jodie, the lovely Jodie, said innocent until proven guilty. Absolutely, Jodie. Innocent until proven guilty, because I have seen people who are against Andrew in the comments saying guilty till proven innocent. Well, since when did we enter a society like that? And to those people who say guilty before innocent, can you try and imagine if it was someone really close to you, someone you loved? So it's not Prince Andrew, or yourself. How would you feel if someone suddenly accused you of something terrible? Would you not want people to at least ask questions and scrutinise it? So thank you for that one, Jodie. Yeah, where's the negative? Where's the original? Why lose something so vital? Some people have said he's guilty because he looks creepy. I was quite stunned by that one. Yeah, there was more than one. He's guilty because he looks creepy. Oh well, I guess that maybe is posted by somebody who looks perfect, who thinks only good-looking people are innocent and the rest of us, well, that's it. I think a lot of this nonsense started when Instagram came along, actually, and filters and stuff. Somebody said that the expression "I call BS" is an American expression. Yes, may well have originated in America, but we do use it in the UK. I hear lots of people use it all the time. There's nothing wrong with the expression in itself. It's just in that context, under those circumstances. Would you ever say to a judge, "I call BS on that," or a police officer, "I'm calling BS on that"? Because I can pretty much guarantee what a police officer would do if you said something like that to them. They go, "Right, nicked. We're going to go and have a chat." Yeah, I think that's all of the points on that. So I'm going to come back to the most important points. Somebody posted a comment and said that they and their mum actually saw that photograph of Andrew in the same clothes, in the same pose, in a book about the royal family. Now, if that is the case, but they've lost the book now, but they're looking for it at the moment. So I would say to Prince Andrew, if he can find that photograph of himself in the shirt, in the pose, for example, at Royal Ascot, well, that's a slam dunk for Virginia Giuffre, isn't it? There was a case, I think I've mentioned it before, about 10 years ago here down in Marbella, Costa del Sol, where a guy went out on a fancy boat with his wife and he came back without her. And he said to the authorities, "Oh, it was terrible, it was terrible. She was sunbathing on the bow of the boat and a big wave came and whooshed her off. I searched and I couldn't find her." And there you go. Well, the authorities were like, "Well, no body, we've only got his story." 1 month later, that lady's body washed up on the beach with cuffs and gaffer tape. And that gentleman, I believe, is still in prison to this day. So for me, if Prince Andrew or anyone on his team can actually find, and it's a big ask because he must have gazillions of photographs have been taken of him over the years, but if they can actually find that specific image of him in another context, that would prove beyond reasonable doubt that someone got a scalpel, cut round it, stuck it on a photograph and faked the whole thing, and I do believe people would be looking at jail time for that.
Absolutely, yeah. And I'll be covering this with the camera, talking about the camera and the kind of light it casts when you...
Perhaps you can fake some, like, obviously ludicrous situations and put that in the video.
But I'd need a 35mm camera. Right, no, I wouldn't. No, I could do it with a digital.
Okay. And that's pretty much...
Well, on finishing note, I'd just like to say, the guy who said he's obviously guilty because he looks creepy, you wouldn't want him on the jury, would you?
No. Can you believe anybody would say a thing like that? Somebody looks creepy.
But it just goes to, that's why you need 12 people on the jury, not just one.
Good God, even one moron like that. I like to think that person that made that comment is actually a bot.
Or being sarcastic.
Maybe, Graham, I doubt it. I mean, there was a very famous case in the UK years ago. We had a TV presenter called Jill Dando who looked a lot like Princess Diana, and she was assassinated on the doorstep of her home. Well, they found a guy who lived pretty close, who, let's say, looked creepy. And how many years was that innocent soul in prison, Graham?
Oh,
Barry, what was his name now? He was disabled. Barry George. He was disabled and lived with his mum, and the police just went, "Oh yeah, there you go, he did it." And it turned out
a few monocles of GSR on his clothing.
He was completely innocent. So I am going to swear to the dickhead who said that Andrew looks creepy, therefore he did it. Again, get bent. To the rest of you lovely people, as always, thank you very much for listening, and look forward to reading your comments. And I think this will probably be the last Andrew video. I just felt it deserved a bit more examination than...
Until something else comes up.
Let's get a pitchfork and a torch and go get him on social media.